Hey, if you're thinking about moving to Henderson here in Nevada and you're looking for some steps that are going to make it a little bit more easy, a little less stressful, and maybe a bit more fun for you, well, I've got you covered in this video. In this video, I'm going to cover some of the simple steps that can make it or break it actually in terms of your move to Henderson and the whole process being enjoyable and not stressful. And we're going to start right now. So I'm going to cover this list, and it's not really in any particular order of importance or what order you should do it. Some of them can be interchanged with each other as well, so always bear that in mind. But I'd say sit back, take notes, go back to bits that you want to rewatch again, and then obviously if you have any questions on any of it, you can always reach out to me as well, and I'd love to help you deep dive it in more information. But one of the first things I think, and it's where I find a lot of people who are watching my videos are probably at that stage, maybe a lot of the times, is really looking into the locations. And there's so many different neighborhoods and communities within Henderson. Henderson is obviously a city in southern Nevada. And then there's so many different communities, different style of communities, different amenities within those communities, different commute times to things that are important to people. And that's where a lot of people start with looking. Some of the real popular communities that people look at the beginning, at least, I find, are my favorite community in Henderson, which is Inspirada. A lot of people look at Cadence. And then on the other side of that, if you're looking for something a bit more peaceful and tranquil, a lot of people are looking at Lake Las Vegas and then the likes of Madeira Canyon or Anthem. And they're going to give you those options as well. So they're probably the top four communities that people are calling me about when they are doing that research. But then there's obviously so many different communities within Henderson as well. You still have Green Valley, you still have Seven Hills, you still have the old Henderson as well. You have other parts of Anthem, you have McDonald's Ranch, McDonald's Highlands as well. So really there's a great selection. There's Whitney Ranch that's just on the tip of Henderson as well. There's a great selection of different areas. Tuscany is another community in between Lake Las Vegas and Cadence. So really, depending on what you're looking for, you're going to find a community that's going to work for you within Henderson. And that is why it is important to reach out to me. I'll put my contact details below. And if you have those conversations with me and you let me know types of things that are going to be important for you, whether that's commute to the airport, commute to the strip, or your place of work or college, or maybe you want to be peaceful, maybe you want lots of amenities, maybe you want good schools, whatever it is that's important to you, I can actually pinpoint the communities that are going to work with you within your budget as well. I'm not going to send you to a community that's going to blow open your budget, and we can have those things. But I really think, I mean, it's one of the number one rules about real estate, isn't it? Location, location, location. And I think when you're looking at making a move, especially to another state, I think really focusing on the location is definitely going to be one of the most important parts. The next thing that's going to make it easy for you is actually going to be reaching out to a licensed professional, reaching out to a realtor, whether that's myself. And again, I would love to work with you. I'd love the opportunity of working with you. Or if you have another realtor in mind, reaching out to them. I mean, there's plenty of people out there. So if you do decide to work with a different realtor, I 100% wish you all the best. If you do want to work with me, I'll absolutely go out of my way to look after you and make this process seamless as much as possible, as hopefully many of my previous clients can testify. But a good realtor is going to really do a lot of the legwork for you. And even if you haven't done the previous steps, then they're going to definitely really help you going forward. A good realtor is going to help you finding the location. A good realtor is going to listen to your needs and your wants and have an active conversation where they're listening and engaging with what you're saying, not just in it, one ear out the other and giving you their recommendations. They're going to be listening and picking up to some of those key words that you say, even if you don't realize it. And then they're going to give you some recommendations based on that as well. They're going to help find the property. They're going to help facilitate the whole process. And they're going to be really on your side, fighting in your corner throughout the process. So making sure that you have a good realtor who's strong in communication, who you align with, who you feel comfortable with, and most importantly, who you trust, because it is a big deal. It's a big deal buying a home anyway, but buying a home in another state where sometimes you can't be directly involved as much as you would be if it was in your hometown. Definitely the trust is a big thing. And I don't take any trust that my clients have had for me for granted, because it's such a big deal. I know purchasing my own homes have been a big deal for me, and I'm in the industry. So what more someone else? So I definitely appreciate it. There have been some slight changes within our industry, and I know a lot of it has been in the press and probably misconstrued in the press as well. NAR had some changes where basically if you're buying a home, you have to now sign an agreement, whether that's an agreement to show a set amount of homes or whether that's agreement to help find the home, and effectively that's you hiring your realtor. The paperwork was technically around previously, but it wasn't necessarily mandatory. Now it is mandatory, and realtors are going to obviously put their fee on there. It's going to be X amount percentage or X amount in terms of a cash value. One thing I want to clarify, that doesn't mean you're, as far as I'm concerned with my clients, that doesn't mean you're going to be on the hook for that amount, because it's going to be written up as part of the offer process to still come from the selling side or still come from the builder. All of the builders that I work with in new construction, apart from one, are still paying the same amounts that they were paying buyer's agents before. The resale sales that I've had since this, the sellers have still paid those fees before. So don't think, oh my goodness, I'm going to need to have to pay my agent as a buyer. That necessarily isn't the case. The only time that becomes the case is if there's a home you fall in love with, and if the seller of that home is refusing to pay any amount towards the buyer's agent fees, then potentially you'll have options. You'll have to either maybe pay your buyer, your agent, your realtor who's looking after you, work without your realtor and work with the seller's agent. And obviously that's going to be different because you're not going to be a client, you're just going to be a customer, or find another home and maybe they're going to be the ones that offer the buyer's commission. So there's definitely going to be options. Don't panic and think, oh my gosh, that's it, I now need to include this as well as down payment and closing costs, and now I have to pay for my agent fees. Honestly, that necessarily isn't the case, and the transactions I've had since then show me that that isn't the case. And if you want more information on that as well, and you want me to give you my views and understanding of it and help you understand it, again, definitely take the time to reach out to me. And even if you're working with another realtor, but you just want me to explain this to you in more details, reach out. I'll happily explain it to you and hopefully give you more clarity, because I've seen how it's been reported in the press, and that isn't necessarily true. But then obviously we know how the press works and they have their own agendas as well. But hey, that's another story in itself. But definitely that next point is working with a licensed realtor. The next point that's going to make it easy is knowing your budget. I don't go out looking for something like a car without knowing how much I have to spend, or a big purchase without knowing how much I spend or can spend. And it's the same with buying a house. You don't want to start looking for a home and in somewhat looking for the location without knowing your budget. There's obviously different ways that you're going to know your budget. Maybe you're going to be financing it and having a mortgage. So then one way you're going to know your budget is talking to a loan officer, whether that's someone with your local bank or someone you've worked with before. Or most importantly for me, if you can work with a local loan officer, because they're going to definitely be better for you, make it a lot easier. A lot of the issues I've had with loan officers are where clients have used their bank and their own loan officer within their bank. I've had a couple of instances with Chase and with Wells Fargo. Chase especially, I've had two clients who are, high wealth and personal banking, and still with all of that, the loan side was a bit short on the Chase side. They, excuse the pun, they were chasing at the end to try and get all the paperwork done, and twice the escrow had to be extended. And essentially that's because that's not really a big arm for them. That's not something they really make a lot of their money on. Obviously we know where banks mostly make their money is when you're putting your savings and putting your money into them. So then it's not really a big deal for them, whereas a local loan officer is going to be more concerned about the loan and concerned about it closing for you. So if you can, and if you need a recommendation for local loan officers, I work with two. I don't get paid a cent from them, but I work with two really good loan officers, and I'm happy to recommend them both to you. And that way they're going to go through everything. They're going to run through all of the stuff that you're going to need, do a pre-approval for you, and based on your credit score and your income and your debt to income ratio, they'll be able to tell you how much home you can afford. And then you'll know, right, this is the amount that I can spend on a home. Let's get going. Nothing worse than looking on Zillow, finding a home that you fall in love with, and then it's actually going to be out of your price range. Or the flip side of that, you're limiting yourself to the types of homes because you think that you can't afford it, but actually maybe you can afford it and it's going to still fall in with your monthly payments that you want, and you can actually afford a nicer home in a nicer community. So it's definitely good to have that in mind and have that ready. If you're a cash buyer, then obviously it's simple. You're going to know how much you have to spend because it's going to be what is in your account or what you'll have in terms of equity from selling your home. So that can be the two ways, but definitely make sure you know your budget and set a budget as well when you are buying a home. The next thing that's going to make it easier for you is actually doing a home search. And I can set you up. You can reach out to me and I can set you up on personalized home alerts, or you can set them up yourself, or if you have another realtor, they can set them up for you. But having personalized home alerts that have as much of the criteria that you're looking for, as much detailed down as possible to really make sure they're sending the homes that are going to work for you. There's no point just sending a blanket list of homes, of 200 homes for you to look at. The more detailed, the better. The more specific, the better. And that's going to give you a real detailed homes that mostly might not send you a huge chunk, but the homes that you are getting sent are going to be ones that mostly fit your criteria. It's always good to make a list of non-negotiables and negotiables. So, things that are really important and no matter what, the home has to have. And then also some of the things that you would like in a home, but maybe you could live without, or maybe you could add it at a later date. And then you'll really know what's important to you. I will say I've had so many instances where people have had things that they've said to me, Peter, this is non-negotiable. I do not care. The home needs to have this. And then we go looking at homes in person. The home doesn't have this, but they fall in love with the rest of the home, or the backyard is such an oasis, or the community overrules it and they're actually really, really happy with the home. But at the starting point, it's really good to have that list ironed out. Quite often when you're a couple, sometimes those lists don't always align, and there's different things that different partnerships do want in a home. So try and find some common ground and some things that can be given up or things that are not. And you can have fun with it as well. I know we definitely had fun with it. So definitely having that list and then basing a home search on that. And then maybe sometimes it's good to just increase the budget a little bit, because sometimes it might send you a home that looks like it's slightly above your budget, but maybe we can negotiate that price down to actually fall within your budget as well. And then that way you're going to get plenty of options and it's going to put you in a good stead. And that's the bit to be excited about, I think, is when you're looking at homes and looking at potential homes. I think that's really exciting. One of the next things is going to be taking time to visit Henderson. We already touched on it already in terms of location and communities is important, but taking the time to visit Henderson and driving some of those communities and checking out some of those communities in person. If you do reach out to me and you are thinking about it, then I can give you a list of addresses, local addresses that you can use as a focal point to go and then do your own research, take your own notes, take your own videos, and then we can meet up afterwards, maybe for a coffee or for lunch, and then we can go and talk about it and talk about what you found, what you felt, and what's going to work best for you. I mean, I know what I like, but that isn't what everybody likes, and I want to get to the nooks and crooks of what actually works for you and what you actually like. And the best way to do that is going to be for you doing your own self-guided tour that I give you guidance on and give you some addresses to go and check, whether that's local businesses, whether that's parks, whether that's schools, whether that's actually homes that might not necessarily be on the market, but you use that address and then you go and drive around the whole area and then go and check it out. And then we'll also go and talk about it afterwards. And if you want me to accompany you on that trip, I can absolutely do that. But I find it works best when you do it on your own and you're a bit more relaxed and you can go and check these things out and take your own time. Maybe stop for your own lunch in the areas, check out the commute times. But I'll set you up on a plan, because it's always good to have a plan. I'll make sure it makes sense so you're not going backwards and forth across town, that you're doing a good loop and you're getting a good idea of all of the different communities. And then, as I said, we'll touch base afterwards and you can let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, and then we can really dial in and drill in on what's going to be important for you. So definitely the next point is going to be taking the time to visit Henderson and check out some of those communities. The next point is going to be having the right vendors to help you. It's a big thing, and if you can have, if you're in a position where you can have people to help you take some of that weight, especially with the moving process, off your shoulders, then that's definitely going to help. Whether you're going to go U-Haul, whether you're going to have a full pack and load a truck and drive it across the country for you, or whether you're going to have pods, whatever it is, making sure you have good vendors to help you. If you need any recommendations on movers locally, I can absolutely recommend you some good ones who are really going to help take that stress away from you. And then also, obviously, when you're buying a home, there might be things that you want to change. So if you need local vendors like plumbers, electricians, whether you need handymen, painters, whether you need landscapers, whatever it is that you need, reach out to me, because I'm not just here to sell you a home. I'm here to help you throughout the process. So anything else that you might need that's going to help you in terms of the home and moving here, definitely do reach out, because I have a whole list of people that can help, and I actually send that list off to my people who I end up working with. I always send off my list of preferred contacts. And also, if you're looking for solar, actually, I've got a great company. We're getting solar ourselves. So I have a great company that I can recommend for solar as well. So again, that's why it's always good to reach out to me, because a good realtor is not just a realtor who's going to sell you a home. A good realtor is going to be someone who can help you beyond buying the home as well. So I would love to help you with that as well. Even if you don't actually use me as a realtor, I would still love to help you with that as well, because I'm all about relationship building. And then the next point is just managing the process. It's a very emotional, it's very highly stressful at times, it's very highly excitable. It can be a bit of a roller coaster of emotions, as life is in general. But in a nutshell, moving across the state and moving state lines and buying a home in another state can be very emotional, very taxing. So just managing those emotions, managing that, don't get too high, don't get too low. Try and stay level if you can, and that's where I'm going to come in. I'm going to try and keep you level as much as possible. And also managing the process in terms of the timelines. You're going to have certain deadlines that you have to meet, whether that's on selling your home if you have a home to sell. Hopefully you can make them line up. And again, a good realtor is going to really work with your realtor in selling your home and try and get those lined up as well. Timelines in terms of paying your earnest money deposit, in terms of getting your appraisal done, your inspection done, your due diligence, and then signing your closing documents and then closing. So you'll have various different timelines that you have to meet as well. If you're buying a new construction home, you'll have timelines in terms of the different stages of construction that you might have to go and walk the home, or I can walk it on your behalf and send you video as well. And then towards the end of that process, you'll also have they call it different new home orientation, celebration of home, whatever the different builders call it, but you'll have another walkthrough then to do towards the end of the process. So make sure you're managing deadlines. I've got a good team behind me, my transaction coordinator who looks after my paperwork side. She's always keeping us on time and on schedule, so nothing falls through the cracks and everything happens on time. Just making sure you're doing your bit though to keep those things in time as well. And that's it, guys. That's some of the steps to make moving to Henderson a bit more easier for you. Hopefully you found this useful. Hopefully you found it helpful. All in all, it can be a very enjoyable process, but it can also be very stressful as well, let me tell you. I mean, I think I've definitely had a few grey hairs, and that was just moving 12 minutes across Henderson. So, you know, moving from another state is definitely going to be quite stressful. If you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give me a like. If you haven't already, then please subscribe and tap on the bell for notifications, and you'll be notified every time I post a new video. And again, if you're liking this content, drop a comment below and let me know what point is going to be most important to you. But until the next time, thank you for watching. You take care.